Russian hackers reportedly targeting voter databases in at least 2 states. Now talk that the federal government may soon oversee the entire election system. It follows these comments by Department of Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson.
We are actively thinking about election cybersecurity right now. There is a vital national interest in our election process, so I do think we need to consider whether it should be considered by my department and others critical infrastructure.
Is more government control the answer? Reaction now from cybersecurity analyst Morgan Wright. Morgan, what say you?
Hi, Dagan. We want more government intervention and everything because the government works so well, right? No, it doesn't. This is one of those things. If Department of Homeland Security is going to get involved, they should get involved just from the aspect like they do with the Super Bowl, with the World Series. It's a national special security event. Bring some additional resources, still let the state manage it, still let the local folks manage it, provide guidance. They've got the National Institute of Standards and Technology out in Boulder, Colorado. We have lots of capability we don't need, and we don't need another government agency coming in. And I'll tell you, the second reason we don't need it is because it's going to create a perception, no matter who wins or who loses, that they had something to do with the results of the election. And we've got, I think, in this day and age, we've got to avoid that.
Right. It doesn't take a large-scale attack. It only takes something small to stir up the idea that the election is, the results are phony.
Well, look, let's go time travel back in time when the Tylenol poisonings happened and the scare happened. It was only just a few bottles, but what did they do? They took all of the bottles off the shelf. It fundamentally changed the industry of how they packaged things like Tylenol and aspirin, all of the product safeguards. So you're right, it only has to be one county. Maybe it's just Chicago, maybe it's just some other areas where, as that vote goes, if you affect just one county or one region, you could change the entire election. If that's thrown into doubt, then it's going to make Gore v. Bush, look mild. This is Gore v. Bush on steroids if something like this happens, and nobody wants to go back to the Supreme Court to decide a cyber election.
We know that Russia, in terms of hacking, is a threat. You saw it with the DNC hacking. That's just one of many examples. Why aren't we, if the federal government wants to be on top of something, why isn't it on top of that?
Good question. Tony and I were just talking. I know you just had him on. We're just talking about some of these cyber things that could be done and should be done. We have a lot of capability, and it's one of those things. I think the way that you prevent things like this from happening is that when you get a bully on the play yard or you get a bully in cyberspace, you give them a bloody nose. You hit back really hard, and you tell them there is a price to pay, both economically, physically, because you can damage infrastructure and world standing if you attack us. And it's one thing to influence an election. Look, we've had the CIA spend money years past to influence elections, make sure a certain party gets elected, but to manipulate the results of an election or manipulate the process of voting, that's unheard of, and that should not be allowed, and that should be dealt with just the same way you were talking about dealing with the Iranians, being aggressive with our boats.
Morgan, good to see you. Morgan Wright.
You bet, Dave.
Take care.